Like he was saying, it's a 1-year anniversary of kind of our first town hall. Today is the 1-year anniversary of when the FFCRA became law. It's also a year ago that here in Arizona, the Stay Home, Stay Healthy, Stay Connected in Arizona Act happened with the first kind of big executive order from our governor. And so, like this picture, I feel like this every day. Where do we start? What do we need to focus on? Where should we be paying attention to things? And so today we've picked these kind of 4 main topics to start with as we continue to go through all of this. And I think with the vaccines, we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe. And so we're going to start with the most recent act of the Americans Relief Plan Act of 2021. So like Pete said, there are several things that were part of this plan, like dependent care FSA increases, unemployment expansions. There were grants for restaurants and nonprofits, those $1,400 stimulus checks that people are starting to see come through. But this was the big one, that the first big piece of this act that we want to make sure that everyone is aware of and is making a decision on, because today is the day that it becomes effective. So a year ago, FFCRA started, and it was a paid sick leave and a paid family medical leave for our employees to use for COVID-related off. And the ARPA has extended those leaves on a voluntary basis. They're not required. It is a voluntary process, with the extension happening from today through the end of September of this year. And then we'll continue to watch to see if they decide to extend it again, because this is the second extension of FFCRA. With this extension, though, there is a new bank of 80 sick leave hours, or prorated for your part-time employees. So if you had an employee that had used all 80 hours last year, they now get a new bank if you decide to opt into this plan. There are also new reasons to use the FFCRA leave. So beyond the getting your test results, you've got symptoms, or taking care of someone that has COVID, or for childcare, schools being closed, you can now also use this leave for going to get your vaccine, for recovery of any vaccine-related illness or injury or disabilities that may happen from getting the vaccine, and also if your employer is requesting you to go get a COVID test and or diagnosis. So those were 3 new reasons that were added to the bucket. The other big change with all of this is that before, the paid family leave was only allowed to be used if your child couldn't go to school. School was closed or childcare was closed. With this update, you can now use the paid family leave, the 12 weeks of paid family leave, for any of the reasons covered under the FFCRA. So I could use those 12 weeks to cover me while I was out sick with COVID, or if I'm caring for someone with COVID. And it's, again, that 12 weeks of paid family leave. The one difference between the prior one and this one is that they've changed where the tax credit comes from. So tax credit is still in place if you opt in, but instead of taking it out of the Social Security tax, it will come out of your Medicare tax. And again, your payroll providers are managing this change on the back end. It's handled the same way through your quarterly taxes and your payroll taxes. it just will come out of the Medicare line instead of the Social Security line. So the big one with this is now employers have to decide, are you opting in or opting out? And those are really the two options you have. I know we've got a question, and I've seen in some places where some payroll companies are providing a third option where you can opt in but not do the reset. All the research and all of the stuff I've seen from, that's not the case. That if you opt in, you must provide a new bank of 80 hours, or you can choose to just add those 80 hours to whatever bank they may have. So if you had an employee that hasn't used their prior 80 hours, they would then have 160 hours, or whatever remnant of what they may or may not have used. That's the only other difference or option that I would see available. Also, with the tax credit, you're only available. The tax credit's only available if you provide the leave to all your employees. So you can't discriminate against and only let your highly comped employees take it, or only allow your full-time employees to have this leave. Otherwise, you're not eligible for the tax credit. My thought, depending on where you're at, I know most of our clients and a lot of clients are looking at opting out of this plan, but I think it really depends on your organization, who's using it, how many people have used it, the number of people you may expect to continue to use these hours, and does it make sense for your organization as you continue to move forward. But you have to make that decision today, and you can't opt out later. So if you opt in today, you're in it through the end of September. You can't just opt in until July and then opt out. It's an all or nothing situation.
What's the opt-in process? Is that you just
basically it continues to be as it has been. So you will continue to provide FFCRA leave to your employees. They just get a new bank of 80 hours that is available to them to use. We haven't gotten any guidance from the DOL, so we don't know for sure if it also means that they get a new 12 weeks of the paid family leave, or if it's just an extension and they just get to, if they've already used up their 12 weeks, they don't get any more. On the FMLA side, we don't know yet. But
are there notices if someone's going to continue, or is that something that's pending in a forthcoming interim final release?
Hopefully there will be some kind of notice. If you've been participating in the FFCRA, I would just keep the FFCRA extension notice, or the notice you've had, up. I would continue to keep that one up until we get a new handout to put up on the wall that shows the additional reasons and that. But it would just be business as normal if you decided to opt in, because you've already been doing this.
And so then the change, if I'm opting out of it, I'm just no longer, the bank is no longer available, or
Correct.
Not renewed. It's probably a better way of saying it.
Correct. You don't have to provide this leave any longer. So then the other big piece is the COBRA subsidy, which you're going to talk about.
Is that my cue?
It is your cue.
And I have to note, you have much better icons than the icons I could figure out.